Stop trying to get motivated. You've done this dance before. The alarms, the playlists, the sudden promise that today will be different. And then, nothing. You wait for a feeling. You scroll for it. You call it inspiration, but it's a delay in disguise. You don't need motivation. You need orders. Because every time you hesitate, something inside you negotiates. It tells you, wait until you feel ready. And that sentence has stolen years from your life. Here's the truth most men avoid. You've built an identity around starting tomorrow, and tomorrow has been running your life. Pause. Look at your routine. The same hours lost in the same plans rewritten every Sunday night. You're not lazy, you're unstructured. Motivation is just emotion waiting for permission. Structure is motion that doesn't ask. When you rely on motivation, you build a system that depends on chaos. When you rely on structure, you build a system that ignores it. The gap between the two is where your life keeps leaking power. So today, the negotiation ends. No more emotional forecasts. No more maybe later. Set the timer. 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes of obedience to a simple order. Move. No negotiation, no debate, just execution. The moment you obey the order, motivation becomes irrelevant. Because action creates clarity faster than emotion ever could. If you're listening right now and it feels uncomfortably familiar, good. That tension is proof. It means you still care. You're not numb yet. You're just untrained in silence. You don't need a better mindset. You need a smaller window for choice. When the command comes, you move. 5 minutes. That's your frame. Comment if this sounds like your loop. If every morning feels like a negotiation with yourself, say yes if you've been waiting to feel ready. Because in 60 seconds, you'll learn why that waiting is killing your edge. And how 5 minutes can rebuild it permanently. No hype, no noise. Only execution. Motivation feels powerful. But it's just noise wearing confidence. It hits fast, burns bright, and fades before you even start. You've felt that rush, the one that makes you write a new plan at midnight. You call it inspiration. It's chemistry, a spike, a spark. And like any spark, it dies when it has nothing to hold on to. You wake up the next morning and the fire's gone. The plan looks heavy again. The silence of the room feels louder. And you start searching for that feeling again, like a man chasing a signal in static. Let me ask you something. How many times have you promised yourself you'd change, but only after you felt ready? After a new video, a quote, a perfect playlist? You don't lack desire. You lack order. And order doesn't care about feelings. Motivation is emotional weather. Structure is a compass. You can't control the sky, but you can control the map in your hand. That's the difference between movement and progress. One drifts, the other builds. You'll keep trying to feel your way into action. But men who rebuild don't chase feelings. They build systems that make emotion irrelevant. Picture this. It's early, dark. The alarm hums in the corner. You stare at the ceiling, waiting for energy to arrive, as if drive was something that could be delivered. Meanwhile, a man across town is already up. He's not inspired. He's ordered. He doesn't check his phone. He checks the next step. He moves slowly, mechanically, cold water, timer, first task, no debate. You think he's different? He's not. He's just built a system that starts without permission. You wait for motivation. He waits for the timer, and that difference is everything. Because when the system starts, the body moves before the mind resists. And once you move, resistance weakens. That's the paradox. Motion kills doubt faster than confidence ever will. You've been trained to chase emotional highs. But discipline isn't emotional, it's structural. It's repetition done without applause. It's the quiet agreement between you and the order you follow. Think about it. How many goals have you set that depended on how you felt that week? How many times did a single bad mood erase a month of progress? That's what motivation does. It lets chaos inside your schedule. And chaos always wins when the rules are flexible. You keep hoping motivation will show up like a soldier to drag you out of bed. It won't, because it's not a soldier. It's a civilian emotion that hides when things get hard. Structure, though. Structure shows up in silence. No excitement. No promises. Just the same movement, again and again, until it becomes identity. Motivation asks, do you feel like it? Structure commands, do it anyway. That's the difference between wanting and becoming, between noise and clarity, between waiting and building. And once you understand that, you stop treating your discipline like a mood. You stop checking if you're inspired. You start checking the system. Let this thought stay in your head for the rest of the day. The next time you feel unmotivated, that's not a problem. That's the trigger. The lack of feeling is your signal to start the loop. Because the moment you act without waiting for emotion, you take control back. Every repetition after that is proof that the order works. This is where real strength begins. Not when you feel powerful, but when you act despite feeling nothing. Pause for a second. Ask yourself, What if the reason you keep failing isn't that you're lazy, but that you've been worshiping the wrong god? Motivation is a ghost. Structure is a weapon. One disappears when you need it most. The other stays loaded. You can build your life around emotion, or you can build it around a system that runs even when you don't want to. Most men won't. They'll keep scrolling for a quote that says what they already know. They'll keep waiting for lightning, and they'll call it hope. But the ones who rebuild, they learn that clarity doesn't shout. It whispers, then waits to see if you'll listen. If this hits, subscribe. We build discipline here, not hype. Because in the next section, I'll show you the exact framework that replaces motivation forever. It's not theory. It's a 5-minute order. Simple, ruthless, repeatable. The kind of system that doesn't ask how you feel. It just runs. You don't need motivation. You need a protocol, a repeatable, measurable loop that doesn't care how you feel. That protocol is simple. It's called the 5-minute order. 3 parts, 1 rule, no debate, plan, execute, review. That's it. But don't mistake simplicity for softness. This order is ruthless because it doesn't negotiate with emotion. You start by planning, not dreaming. Planning, 60 to 90 seconds, no more. Write 1 task, 1, not 10. Define the first movement, not the whole mountain. Write the title, pack the bag, open the document. That's enough. Then set your timer for 5 minutes. Exactly 5. Symbolic, mechanical. You'll hear that click, that soft tick of countdown. That sound isn't pressure, it's permission. Because now you execute. No music change, no app switch, no thinking, you start. The timer becomes command, the motion becomes obedience. You'll feel resistance rise, that familiar whisper. This won't matter, ignore it. It's your old system panicking. You're rewriting its code, line by line. At 5 minutes, you stop. No extra push, no fake grind. Stop exactly where the timer ends. Then comes the review. 30 seconds, mark the progress. Done or partial, no judgment, just data. If done, strike a line. If partial, write the next micro task. Reset the timer and repeat. This is not about doing more. It's about breaking the illusion that action requires feeling. Every loop you run erases one piece of that illusion. You'll notice something strange after a few rounds. The body starts to obey before the brain questions. The ritual takes over. The hesitation shortens. And discipline, the real kind, begins to live in your muscles. Most men think they need fire to move. They don't realize the act of moving creates the fire. Motion builds emotion, not the other way around. Think of the 5-minute order like ignition. Cold engine, silent morning, 1 spark, 1 start, and the machine begins to hum. No ceremony, no crowd, just function. You'll also learn that 5 minutes isn't small, it's a doorway. Once you cross it, momentum takes control. That's why it works, because it's too short for fear, too simple for excuses. Some days you'll stop after 1 loop. Fine, the system still runs. Other days you'll finish the 5 and keep going for 30. That's the point. Consistency, not explosion. The power isn't in the minutes, it's in the obedience. And when you live by orders, not moods, life becomes quieter, but sharper. You stop asking, do I feel like it? You start asking, what's next? The 5-minute order doesn't replace creativity or freedom. It builds the foundation that gives both a shape, because real freedom is structure that holds when everything else falls apart. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow, open your notebook and see 1 line right for 5. You breathe, you set the timer, you start. 5 minutes later, you've built proof. Small, maybe, but measurable. That's the loop. Plan, execute, review, repeat. It's not glamorous. It's not cinematic. It's survival by design. You can run this order for anything. Work, training, study, rebuilding your focus. 1 page, 1 rep, 1 silence at a time. The rules don't change, you do. And here's the truth hidden inside this system. You're not fighting laziness, you're fighting negotiation. The voice that says later is just your comfort testing your command. You don't argue with it, you'll override it. Each loop is proof that you can win small battles without emotion. Each repetition is 1 less reason to rely on motivation again. Stop chasing feelings, stop counting loops. Because the man who runs the loop owns his day before noon. The one who waits for motivation loses it before he starts. If this clicked, subscribe. We build discipline here, not hype. In the next section, we'll take this from concept to life. You'll see how to run the loop in the real world, in the silence of morning, in the middle of chaos, when comfort calls you back. The 5-minute order is the weapon. Now you'll learn how to fire it. You know the rule. 5 minutes, no debate. Now let's make it real. Not tomorrow, today, right now, where you stand. Start with the body, because the body is the door. You wake before sunrise. The world's quiet, That cold metallic silence that belongs only to early hours. The phone glows, but you don't touch it. You move slowly, mechanically, feet on the floor, breath steady. You pour water, cold, sharp. It shocks you awake faster than any speech ever could. You feel the sting on your skin. That's not pain. That's command taking form. You grab the notebook. One line. Move for 5. No prep, no playlist. No perfect gear, set the timer. 5 minutes. Push-ups, squats, whatever breaks inertia. The goal isn't reps, it's obedience. Because in that moment, you're teaching the body to lead the mind. Every breath counts as data. Every second rewrites the identity you built on hesitation. The alarm rings, you stop. 5 minutes, done. That's your first win. Small, real, documented. Your proof of discipline isn't a quote, it's the sweat on your floor. You wipe your hands, breathe once and write, done. Next, that's the loop, and now it moves to the mind. The same principle, different battlefield. You sit at the desk, the mind starts to scatter. Tabs, messages, noise, but today, the rule runs first. Plan. Execute. Review, plan, write one task. Outline the idea. Set the timer. 5 minutes. You start typing. Words appear. Not perfect, not poetic, just movement. The noise fades. The page begins to fill. You forget to care about how it looks. You just run the loop. When the timer stops, you lean back. You'll mark it down. Proof 2. This is how discipline compounds quietly, privately, not in motivation highs, but in silent, measured repetitions. You begin to notice patterns, how resistance screams in the first 30 seconds, how silence becomes focused by minute 3, how the mind obeys once the body begins. That's the truth no one wants to accept. Motivation doesn't build confidence, proof does. And proof is built in loops. Now the third layer, your environment. Because discipline is fragile in chaos. Look around your space. Every object either supports the loop or sabotages it. The desk clutter, the phone near your hand, the open tabs that pull at your focus. They all whisper the same thing. Check me first. Structure doesn't live in willpower, it lives in design. So change it. Put the phone in another room. Keep the timer visible. Notebook open. Pen on top. Your environment must say what your mind forgets. Execute first. Think later. You'll find peace in that silence. Not because it's calm, but because it's controlled. Every piece of order you build outside gives you leverage inside. That's how systems replace chaos. One deliberate layout at a time. Now pause for a second. Ask yourself, what would your day look like if every action started this way? 5 minutes of compliance, followed by review. Would you still call yourself unmotivated? You'll fail sometimes. Of course you will. You'll skip the loop. The timer won't start. The comfort will win. That's fine. The failure isn't the problem. Breaking the loop is. When you fall, the rule stays the same. Review, then reset. 5 minutes of silence. 5 minutes of focus. 5 minutes of obedience. This is how control is built, not in sprints, but in repetitions that don't require emotion to start. You'll notice something deeper after a week. The moments between thoughts shrink. You stop debating. You start responding. At work, in the gym, even in small things, cleaning the kitchen, sending that message, finishing what you avoided. You begin to trust your word again, because every time you obey the order, your word proves true. That's where confidence comes from, not from hype, but from follow through. Real strength isn't loud, it's consistent. Pause, comment your one habit for tomorrow, then set a timer and run it once now, not after dinner, not when you feel ready. Now because the loop isn't theory, it's command in motion. And if you run it once, you'll never need motivation again. You'll have something better proof. In the next part, you'll understand why this loop changes more than your schedule. It changes your identity, because a man who obeys his own orders isn't just productive. He's dangerous in the right way. At first, it's just a habit, a small rule, a timer, a page, a moment of silence. But something changes. Without noticing, you start to move differently. You walk faster between tasks. You speak less, but mean more. You stop announcing intentions. You start executing quietly. That's when the loop stops being a method and starts being you. Because the 5 minute order isn't about time. It's about identity. It's a mirror. It shows who you are when no one's watching. The man who waits for motivation needs noise to move. The man who runs the loop becomes the noise. He doesn't react, he initiates. He doesn't hope, he acts. Every repetition rewires something ancient inside you. The muscle that used to flinch under discomfort begins to relax into control. You no longer panic when things feel hard. You just return to the loop. 5 minutes. Action. Proof. Silence. And in that silence, you start to see what most men miss. Freedom isn't escape. It's precision. You realize the loop was never about productivity. It was about self-respect. Because nothing builds confidence faster than keeping your own word. You said you'd start. You did. You said you'd run 5 minutes. You did. You said you'd review and repeat. You did. That's not discipline anymore. That's identity. The man who runs the loop doesn't need to feel inspired. He is inspiration, embodied. Not because of words, but because of proof. Look around your life right now. Every area you control, your body, your work, your space, carries the same signature. Structure.com/clarity. In the chaos, it starts to shrink. Not because it vanished, but because you stop feeding it. When you live by systems, emotion becomes a tool, not a driver. You'll use it when it serves. You'll ignore it when it distracts. That's real autonomy, not needing to fight your feelings, but outlasting them. You become a different presence, grounded, predictable in the best way. People around you start to notice, not because you talk about discipline, but because you embody it. You're not chasing power anymore. You're maintaining it. There's a quiet kind of dominance in that. The kind that doesn't shout, doesn't posture, doesn't demand validation. It just executes again and again until the world adjusts around it. That's the strength of the loop. It doesn't make you loud, it makes you consistent. And consistency beats every storm. No hype, no noise, only execution. That's the creed, now yours, mine. Ours, because men who run the loop don't compete with feelings. They control the frame. They don't seek balance, they build it. They don't chase motivation, they generate motion. And when you understand that, you realize motivation isn't useless, it's obsolete. Every second you obey the order, you prove the truth. Structure isn't restriction, it's freedom measured in control. So write your next habit below. The system starts with one move. 5 minutes, no debate. If this message hit, subscribe and comment your commitment, then execute your first 5. We don't wait for motivation. We don't negotiate with weakness. We don't ask permission. We live the loop.